Hello and welcome to my most useless information and facts that I've learned in my 27 years of life. So the first thing is the saying, so don't get the wrong end of the stick, actually comes from the Romans. So in the Roman times they didn't have toilet paper, so they used to use a thing called a sponge on a stick, and as the name explains, it is a sponge on a stick dipped in vinegar to cleanse it between each user. And so that's where the saying don't get the wrong end of the stick comes from, because if you grab the wrong end it could be a bit misfortunate for you. The second thing is put it on the slate is also another Roman saying. So when they were in the bathhouse, obviously they wouldn't have money on them when they were like swimming around and things. So they used to have a piece of slate on a string around their neck. And when they ordered food or drink or anything, the waiter who'd bring it over would literally write on the slate what they'd had. And then at the end, when they got changed and that, and on their way out, they would then hand in the slate and pay for what they'd had. So that's where we get the saying, put it on the slate. Number 3 is probably my favourite fact, is that Romans invented the beef burger, and they also had fast food restaurants and stalls out on the streets, and there's quite a few examples of them still existing in Pompeii. So my fourth one is a saying again, which is, it's cold enough to freeze the balls off a brass monkey. Now, it's not actually talk about monkeys, it's actually coming from the Navy. So on old battleships that had cannons, they used to have to stack the cannonballs up in a type of pyramid, and on the bottom they'd have a triangle frame which was called a brass monkey, and if it got too cold, the triangular frame, the brass monkey, would shrink in the cold and the balls would fall off it and they'd just roll over the deck. Number 5 is probably another one of my favourites and less well known, that the famous Captain Blackbeard, who was a very notorious pirate, was actually Welsh. He was born in Pembrokeshire. Number 6, pirates had really strict rules, so the thing called the Pirates Code, which is in Pirates of the Caribbean, actually existed. So one of my favourite pirate rules and unusual ones is mind the curfew. So there was a curfew on pirates that at 8 o'clock at night all the lights had to go out, and if you still wanted to be up after that, like talking and that with your friends, you had to be up on deck with no lights. Number 7, that Thomas Edison didn't actually invent the light bulb. So he was the first to make it commercially and make it available to everyone, but the actual inventor was a guy called Mr. Davy, and he was 40 years earlier than Edison. And then George Swan also had a go at it as well in Britain, just a little bit before Thomas Edison, so he didn't quite invent it. So number 8 is Wales has more castles per square mile than any other country in the world. Number 9, Mount Everest was named after a Welshman called Sir George Everest, who was a surveyor, and he was the first guy to map the mountain of Everest, and it was named after him. Number 10, the Menai suspension bridge that goes across the Straits was the first suspension bridge in the world. Number 11, the first multi-arched railway bridge was built in Bangor. So it used to take a horse-drawn tramway from Porthpenryn in Bangor up to a flint mill near Llandegai, which was made in like 1798 or something, and it's still there today. You can go and find it along the cycle path. It's something I learned today actually. The equal sign was actually invented by a Welsh mathematician called Robert Record, and he also introduced the plus and minus symbol. Number 13, Cable Bay in Anglesey is named Cable Bay because they laid a cable there all the way across to Ireland, which then went on to America, which gave us our first direct communication to America. So number 14, Penryn Quarry in Bethesda and Dinorwic Quarry in Llanberis are the only 2 quarries in the whole entire world where you get the 3 colours of slate, which is blue, red and green, from the different minerals that were mixed in over the years. And then the last one is that Penryn Quarry in Bethesda had the longest ever strike of 3 years. It's a long time to be off work. So hopefully you've learned something new, hopefully it'll be a bit interesting, and there are loads more facts and sayings out there and that have interesting origins, so I encourage you to go and find them.